Hey everybody, in this one we're going to take a look at some ads from the U.S. Senate race in Pennsylvania. It's incumbent Bob Casey running against Dave McCormick. McCormick does have more ads and more recent ads than Casey, but I'm going to try to showcase 3 from each side, so we're going to play them and we're going to react to them. Let's get started here with McCormick. This ad is almost 1 minute, but let's get into it.
Listen, I've been blessed by the American dream, and I'm running because I'm worried that's not going to be available for our kids.
That is why this election is so important. And that's why at this moment, leadership makes all the difference. This election is about passing on a country to the next generation that's as good as the one that was given to us.
And I want to tell you, as a former wrestler, I wasn't the best wrestler, but I always knew that if I could get into the third period within a point or two, I was going to win. And the reason I was going to win is the reason we're going to win. Because in the third period, it's not about wrestling. It's about mental toughness. It's about perseverance. It's about resilience. It's about fighting every minute, every day, every hour. We're counting on you. Let's go win.
Alright, I think that's the kind of ad that is going to work pretty well. It's about determination and tenacity and looking toward the future. There's the music that has the building tension. There's a ton of quick cuts of McCormick shaking hands, speaking at different events. He's out there all over the state. So you might not like the guy or you might think he's lying. But in terms of effectiveness, I think this does work. Let's move on to the first ad from Casey. And this is his most recent. It's a minute long and it's got Obama. Let's get into it.
Hey, Pennsylvania. Barack Obama here. Listen. People are hurting right now. Meanwhile, corporations are raking in record profits. My friend Bob Casey is fighting back. He's standing up to big corporations and holding them accountable. And he's working to keep more money in your pocket. He got the price of insulin capped at just $35 per month for seniors. He's lowering the price of more prescription drugs as we speak. And he's pushing for a child care tax credit that could save families thousands of dollars a year. At his core, Bob Casey is guided by faith and family. He is Pennsylvania through and through. You need a senator who's on your side, who always puts middle-class families first. That's why Bob deserves your vote. So talk to your friends and family and make a plan at iwillvote.com.
Alright, so this is Barack. He's stumping for Casey, and I actually think this is kind of a weaker ad. Let me tell you why. Once you have to bring in somebody from the past that's more popular than you, I tend to think it comes off as a little bit desperate. Now, the things that Obama lists, I think, are kind of generic. Standing up to corporations, caps on the price of insulin, child tax credits, etc. He's trying to prove how effective Casey has been in the Senate. I don't think those are bad things. I just think they come off a little bit more in the that's not enough type of direction. So we get it. Bob Casey is Pennsylvania through and through. But this is a low-key ad. There's really no music. There's no shots of Casey. It's Obama pleading directly to the voter. Some people might actually find it to be effective and motivating. I can't say it's terrible, but to me this one falls a little bit flat. Now let's go on to ad number 2 from David McCormick. Here it is.
You know, one of the raps on you is that you're lazy, essentially resting on the laurels of your great father's good work. And it seems to some that you're not as active or visible on the campaign trail. You are one of the least effective senators. You've been in the Senate for 12 years, but when you go out on the street and talk to people and ask them, what has Senator Casey done, they blank.
If you know where Bob Casey is at, please send out a beacon.
Casey is often said to be boring.
Bob Casey's got low energy.
I call him Senator Casper because he was like Casper the Ghost.
Sleeping Bob.
Bob Casey's never been in these damn studios.
What's Bob Casey's signature piece of legislation? Nobody can tell you.
Nobody knows who the hell he is.
You never hear from him when you really need to hear from him on an issue.
I can't think of anything that he's actually done.
Nobody ever saw, is Bob Casey going to vote for this? No, there's never discussion. Everybody's like, of course he votes Democrat, regardless.
99% of the time, that's Bob Casey.
Alright, that I think is a scathing ad against Casey. It's a little long, but it's got a ton in there. Tons of cuts from various media outlets. And they go after Casey on how he's absent, how he's ineffective. Even his personality, how he has low energy and he's nowhere to be seen. Now, obviously, those are all going to be cuts that are going to make Casey look terrible. But I think this is a solid ad if you're McCormick trying to take down Casey. He has been in the Senate a while. His dad was a big name in that state. And this ad for McCormick is not really holding back. It's much more exciting than the previous ad with Obama. So let's move it along to ad number 2 from Bob Casey. Here it is.
Are you familiar with greedflation?
Greedflation.
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 Our next guest has been a leading voice in calling for a crackdown on excessive price increases.
Senator Bob Casey.
Bob Casey.
Bob Casey.
Bob Casey.
Greedflation, which is big corporations jacking up their prices. Corporate profits were up 75%, 5 times the rate of inflation. And it's just a part of a larger ripoff by these greedy corporations. And it's about time we took action against it.
Bob Casey of Pennsylvania introduced the Price Gouging Prevention Act.
What was that? Okay, at the end there, he breaks into some sort of a fighting stance for whatever reason. It's a little awkward. I guess he's a fighter and not just a stiff politician. And I'm not even sure this is an ad that's actually playing on TV, but it was on his YouTube channel. Anyway, the ad I think is okay. It goes after the high prices from the Democratic perspective. It's corporations jacking up the prices, and he's got some backup from some favorable media outlets. I think it's fine. It's not really overly exciting. Casey is a little bit more on the bland side. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the best thing I think Casey has going for him is voters know who he is at this point. And a lot probably trust him. Some might be getting tired of him and want to go in a different direction. Inflation is a big topic. I think this type of ad where he's really trying to make the term greedflation stick in people's minds, I think it's all going to be just acceptable enough. So let's do the last ad for McCormick. Let's see what he's got to say.
PA, snack food capital of the world.
Snack food is our job.
You know, Kamala Harris blames us for inflation.
She calls it greedflation.
Bob Casey does too.
But the real greed is in Washington.
Democrats cave in to enviros, so diesel costs more.
The Democrats made everything cost more.
Like Bob Casey.
Instead of blaming you guys, Casey and Kamala should blame themselves.
He's our man.
I'm Dave McCormick, and I approve this message. Let's go.
Let's go.
Alright, so that's the McCormick perspective on inflation. I think the ad is again better than the one Casey put out. They talk about snack food, they get right into a factory and show a lot of workers speaking directly to the camera. They talk about gas prices, problems with Washington. I think that kind of stuff is reasonably effective. At the end, McCormick is even sitting in the cab of a truck. That is a little bit awkward, but he's trying to show that he's a man of the people and he can relate to these blue-collar workers. The music also, I think, not bad in this one. So let's finish it up with one more ad from Casey.
Dave McCormick got rich.
Really rich.
By investing in China.
China.
As a Wall Street CEO, he ran the #1 foreign hedge fund in China, pouring money into companies that build missiles and bombers for China's military.
China's military? Come on.
Why would we ever trust someone who made the military of our enemies stronger?
Dave McCormick sold us out.
To make a fortune.
That's the real Dave McCormick.
I'm Bob Casey, and I approve this message.
Alright, so that's the last from Casey, and that I think is his best ad, probably by far. It's got good music, good narration. It also has what's supposed to be just regular blue-collar workers talking to the camera and voicing their concerns about David McCormick. And I'm not usually here to discuss the veracity of the claims of these ads, but any assertion that McCormick has ties to China and their military, or that he may have profited off of it, that's likely to be scary for some voters. Sure, McCormick would deny a ton of it, but this is the kind of ad that Casey I think should have stuck to. There's some other ones out there, but again, McCormick did have more ads. We didn't really take a look at any abortion or immigration ads this time, so kind of refreshing just to hear about more economic or personality concerns. But overall, McCormick did have the better ads here. There was nothing horrible from Casey, I just think that he fell short. He's been through a number of campaigns in his life. I would think he is going to have to step it up a little bit because McCormick seems to be running a better campaign than I would have anticipated. But anyway, that's a look at some of these ads for Senate and PA, so let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of these ads? Do you agree that McCormick did the better job, at least in these ads, or do you disagree and think it was Casey? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.